This is Karis Alexander with Deep Truth Media. I wanted to share with you my perspective. Again, it's simply just a sharing on this double mastectomy that was announced by Angelina Jolie last week, I believe, and an article that I posted on my blog, just connecting some of the dots between Brad Pitt, her husband or her partner's movie that's coming out on June 21st, the summer solstice, called World War Z, and the connection with Angelina Jolie's announcement of her double mastectomy, and now she's going to be removing her ovaries. I also want to talk again about the fact that we are living within a simulation within a simulation. I want to also talk about how our behavior is being influenced. And I want to talk about what is normality. So when we look at this perspective of, when I've mentioned this several times, and as you know, over the years, over the past 3.5 years, I've been sharing my ideas about how our reality in this physical world stage is well scripted, well choreographed, and played out by the power control force. And so if we go on the premise that we are living in a simulation within a simulation, that is, in order for us to, as pure consciousness, to have this physical experience, that a simulation was designed, an organic simulation was designed for us to have this physical experience. However, the simulation was hijacked by the power control force, those that presume to run this world, and there is an inorganic overlay that is on top of the organic simulation that is manipulating the course of events in terms of the evolution of consciousness. So if we look at it, simulation within simulation, and we look at the polarity, the organic simulation that was designed by our Creator, encompasses this universe and our solar system, which resides in the universe, and that it allows for consciousness to evolve. And that is a organic, positive process that was naturally supposed to occur, and the world in which could be or can be is one of utopia, heaven on earth. Those are the concepts or ideas that one can aspire to, that being a more positive, natural progression in the evolution of consciousness. However, since the simulation has been captured, the polarity of that is this inorganic, negative embodiment of the world in which we currently live in and exist within, and which is definitely on a de-evolutionary trajectory path. We're in a path of de-evolution. And what I really try to emphasize here is that the course of events that are happening on the physical world stage is simply a simulation. It's an artificial simulation that is really simply designed to support a few, those who are running the world. It is to serve only a few people. And in service to self of the few people who are running this physical world, they are simply mad. They're insane. And they operate in a very, very low frequency. So if we look at normality in terms of what that means, normality, if we look at what is normality, normality is simply conforming to a standard. And our normality has simply been manufactured. It's a manufactured normal. And so if we look at normality and we were to look at it from a standpoint of frequency, that it is and we look at the third dimension of what we reside with. These are just words or concepts that we reside within the third dimension. And if we were looking at the third dimension and the frequency of normality, which is broadcasted, that it's a single narrow broadcast in our third dimensional construct or reality here. It's a very single, narrow broadcast, normality, in this third dimensional construct. And it is basically a broadcast of governance, how we are to act within this system. And again, it is manufactured by those who presume to run this physical world. And how do they broadcast this governance? How do they create this broadcast? By influencing human behavior. And they do that through governments, corporations, the media, and what I call, behavior modification. But if we really, really look or take a deeper look at this broadcast of governance is a program. And if we look at who and what we are as pure consciousness, and we were able to step outside of the program, as a conscious being, you are simply just a frequency. And each one of us has a frequency that we are as pure consciousness, which allows us to engage in this physical world. And so we're all oscillating at different frequencies here and having this experience. And some of us are operating at a frequency in which we can hack the matrix and evolve ourselves. Not everyone is going to evolve, but that is a program within itself. That for those of us who are able to come to know and understand the system, come to know the truth of who we are programmed to wake up out of this narrow sliver, this single broadcast in this third dimension. The power control force knows that a portion of humanity is designed to wake up out of this insanity, out of the matrix. And what they are doing is simulating that process so that hopefully you won't be able to completely break free of the system that has been imposed upon you as a conscious being. As pure consciousness, you are just an eternal being residing outside of this physical dimension, this third dimensional reality construct. And when you are just fully connected to that which you come from, source, the original source, you're just operating or vacillating at your frequency. You're not doing anything really. You're just being in this utopia, in your paradise state. And that's wonderful because But when you've been doing that for so long, and that's all you're doing when you're at your ultimate eternal state, the benefits of coming down into this physical dimension is that you get to bring the eternal beingness that you are at the highest level and have this physical experience, yet and be able to experience the different sensations of physicality. I don't believe that it was ever proposed that we were to come here and be captured in this polarity, this dynamic. But then again, to the extreme that we are immersed in. And yet, many will say that yes, we were. But I believe that we can have this polarity experience and not be captured in this de-evolutionary process. I don't think it has to go to this extreme, and yet this is the reality in which we are engaged in. Now, as pure consciousness, as a pure conscious being, just simply resting in our state, when we come in this dimension, this third dimensional sliver of normality, what is considered normality, then as pure conscious being, we are programmed into this system. And as consciousness, we interface with a data stream. This is a data stream. It's a program. It's a data stream. So the consciousness that is you, this frequency, interfaces with this data stream. And so the things that we talk about, third dimension, fourth dimension, fifth dimension, light, energy, heart consciousness, these are things these are all metaphors or words that we use to make sense of what it is that we're experiencing in this dimension. And that can get very, very confusing because they're just simply metaphors. They're just simply symbols. And it's just simply all in all data. And so this broadcast of governance, normality, what many are feeling or finding is it's not fulfilling. It's not satisfying. In fact, for many, it can be considered soul crushing. And so people are at a state in which they're having to go within and do that inner deeper work to transcend the matrix, to hack the matrix, to come to know self. And when we engage that process, that process of one's own unfoldment, then normal, or what is normal, this broadcast of governance, becomes the antithesis of what we want to be experiencing. And yet it is very challenging to break free of this normality, this manufactured normal, this broadcast of simply governance to serve only a few. And so when we see things like the connection between World War Z, again, I'm going to put the link to my blog post for that article that I posted last week on connection to World War Z and Angelina Jolie's double mastectomy. And now that she's getting her ovaries taken out, this is influencing human behavior. These type of scenarios that are playing out where they're using idols. I'm going to also put a link to a blog post that I did on idol worship. How they're using celebrity status to implement new norms within society. What we are phasing out of is the normality broadcast that most of us have grown up in, which is considered normal, is simply a broadcast. It's not even normal. What we consider and what we preference as normal is not even really normal. We've been raised into believing that it is, and so we've acquiesced, and so we're basing anything that happens outside of what we've grown up into as the antithesis of that. And what we are witnessing is complete and utter insanity on this planet. And literally, the power control forces, those that presume to run this world, are moving or ushering humanity. And they're doing that by influencing human behavior through governments, corporations, and the media, modifying our behavior to broadcast a new governance of lawlessness, of forced austerity. And so the real issue here is that we have to stop looking at these external scenarios or events that are playing out in the physical world stage as truth. They are deception. They are lies. World War Z, the movie, is about zombies and flesh eating. And Brad Pitt is the star in this movie, and I found it was very interesting when you read the blog post that I posted, the connections, and that this announcement by Angelina Jolie about the double mastectomy and her ovaries being taken out, and how she is so brave to be doing these how she's being so brave to take these measures in order to basically save her life. But with all the cancer research, again, millions and millions of dollars spent on cancer research, and this is the forthcoming answer to dealing with cancer, is to take your breasts off and remove your ovaries. And this is complete madness. And this is how people are saying how she's brave to be doing this. And they're basically saying, yeah, they're giving her the thumbs up, and her partner supporting her. So this is complete and utter madness. This is, again, a ploy leading people into influencing their behavior so that others will do the same. It's all about transhumanism agenda, the transhumanism agenda. But I just wanted to really emphasize here how you're being influenced and how easily and susceptible consciousness is, that it can be manipulated so easily, how vulnerable the eternal being that is you is, that it can be manipulated and molded into these and be deceived in this programmed reality. It just gives you a clear indication of how vulnerable, how susceptible consciousness is to being programmed. And so, what is normality? What is normal for you? Because this is really going to be important for you. What are your standards? Are you just going to continue to watch on the sidelines as this physical world goes down in utter chaos and destruction? Or are you going to take action? Because in all honesty, what is before each and every one of us is we are going to be living in a different environment than we have been brought up in for those of us in North America. And that what is ensuing is that we are going to be living in a world in utter chaos and destruction, even in our own personal environments and surroundings. How are you going to cope? How are you going to manage all the challenges and the changes that are going to be ensuing on this planet? And, focusing on things like Angelina Jolie's double mastectomy and ovaries being taken out, and World War Z. I mean, I'm going to be doing less of these connecting the dots. I've been doing this for about 3.5 years, and it really, it's an organic alchemical process that one goes through, in which I have gone through, in terms that I can connect the dots at a higher level. And even the level in which I'm connecting, it can be very challenging and very jarring to even share at this level, because it feels like an assault on the eternal being that I am, the consciousness that I am, when I have to engage at this level. But I do know it's part of the process of one's unfoldment. And what happens is that there's an alchemical process that allows you to detach more and more from the matrix and see things for what they are. And so you no longer become subjected to the normality, the broadcast of governance, so to say. And you can start creating from your own eternal beingness, from the highest level in which you know yourself to be. And as I mentioned in my last audio, at the highest level of who and what you are as an eternal being, we operate very differently. We don't have the same experience that we're having here on this physical world stage. And I honestly have to say that what we are experiencing, the aspect of you, the consciousness that is you, that is experiencing itself on the physical domain here, is the lowest aspect of who and what you are. And so the challenges that you're being faced with right now, and they are pretty intense for most people, is the areas in which you are most wounded. And what you're finding is old traumas are resurfacing, old wounds are resurfacing, and you have the option of either adhering to these calls to action or keeping yourself busy in your life and ignoring it and hoping in the hopes that things will blow over and everything will change and things will change on their own. They won't. The earth is moving into a higher frequency, and that's causing a lot of disruption on this earth. And the inorganic simulation knows that the earth is moving into a higher frequency, is trying to simulate some of the fallout, the destruction that would be naturally occurring here. They are trying to simulate that and create destruction and call it what they want to call it. But a lot of distraction right now, a lot of people in a lot of turmoil, and it's really going to be up to you to determine whether you're going to live within this sense of normality, which is really transitioning into, again, forced austerity and planned, or forced and planned austerity, and utter chaos and lawlessness, where your life will feel like you are in a constant threat. And who wants to be living like that? And so you must take matters into your own hands. And the best thing that you can do is to do the inner work. It's an inside job. There's nothing that needs to be changed on the external. It's an inside job. And for those who are able to step outside the frequency band, this narrow single frequency broadcast in third dimension of what is considered normality, and tap into other frequency bands within this physical dimensional experience, you can have an actual experience which is of your own making. You can create your own, with your own frequency. You can create a sense of normality which is defined by you, which embodies all of who you are, and still be on this physical plane. That's the opportunity. It's a very magical time now. The opportunity for you to create as an eternal being in this physical world is well supported, and I can attest to the fact that I'm having a completely different experience than most people. And I feel very grateful to be able to have a different experience, but it's one that I'm creating for myself, which is based on my authentic uniqueness. And I am empowered through the knowing of the truth of who and what I am as an eternal being, as eternal consciousness. Simply resting in a constant state of paradise, utopia, in fact. And I have the capacity, I embody the capacity, as you do, to create heaven on earth. So we must be the examples to which the change in which we want to see in this world. So I leave you with that. I wish you all the best. Thank you so much for tuning in. And it's not easy putting these podcasts together. Sometimes I think it's like twilight language that I'm speaking. And sometimes it's challenging for me to step up to the plate, but more and more it gets much, much easier. Because I'm more guided. Guided more and more to embody and embrace the truth of the situation in which we find ourselves in, and still be here. And so I thank you. I wish you all the best. Take care.